Well, hello guys, it's me again, UnstableVoltage, with another episode of How to Feed the Beast in Minecraft. Today we're going to be having a look at the Buildcraft Quarry. Now, I remember in the last video I said there were a couple more machines that I would need to build before we could make the quarry, but I've actually had a look and found an alternative method of building it using the machines we already have. The quarry is actually very easy and simple to use. You place it down in a designated area and supply it with some Buildcraft power. You then run some pipes from it to chests or sorting facilities, and it will happily dig away in the designated area, spitting out all the blocks that it has mined into the pipes. It'll keep mining down until it eventually hits bedrock, or lava, in which case it will stop. It doesn't matter too much if it hits lava, because you can add water to it, turning it to obsidian, and it can happily mine through that as well. Now, it may be simple to use, but it certainly isn't simple to build. In vanilla Buildcraft and original Techit, it was very easy to build, but unfortunately now, due to Gregtech, it is a lot more complicated, so you might need a pen and paper for this one. We're going to have to construct a few additional materials to make the quarry, but you're also going to need to find yourself a good supply of diamonds, some lapis lazuli, and you're also going to need to go mining for some bauxite ore, which looks like this using the Sphax texture pack. So let's have a look at what we're going to need to make our quarry. So in order to put the quarry together, we're going to need a variety of machines, most of which we have already built, and what you're going to need is some type of furnace. Our induction furnace will do fine in this instance, some form of macerator or grinder. Luckily we have a rotary macerator. We're also going to need our industrial electrolyzer, and we're going to need to utilise the industrial blast furnace that we built a couple of episodes ago. And finally, a good old vanilla crafting table. So, where do we start? Well, first of all, there are two new things that we need to make. We need to be able to make steel ingots, and we need to be able to make titanium ingots. So, let's have a look at the steel ingots first. You're going to need your macerator and some coal. Put the coal in the macerator because what we want is coal dust. While that's macerating, go to your furnace and put some iron ingots in there. What we want is refined iron. So let's give those a few seconds to do their thing. Okay, so our macerator has now finished making the coal dust and our induction furnace has finished making the refined iron. Let's take those out to our industrial blast furnace. So over to the industrial blast furnace, and if we place one piece of refined iron and 2 coal dust, you will see it now starts to do something. So let's give that a couple of seconds. And there we go, the result is 1 steel ingot, and we also have some dark ashes. Now you might as well keep those in a chest somewhere, it's always worth keeping the byproduct. Now we need to make 5 of these. Unfortunately I haven't brought enough coal dust with me, so I'll sort that out later. Okay, so now we know how to make our steel ingots, we need to make our titanium ingots. Now these have to be made in the industrial electrolyzer. Hopefully you've been out and you have mined some bauxite ore. If you put the bauxite ore into the macerator, you will get bauxite dust as the result. Now the best thing to do is to use the industrial electrolyzer when you haven't got any of your other machines on, because in order to electrolyze the bauxite dust, the electrolyzer requires 128 EU per tick. Now I do have this wired up to my MFE, which is outputting 128 EU per tick, but the problem is if you've got it connected via long cables that have a power loss, it might only be getting 127 and it might not work, and also if you've got any of your other machines turned on, they might be drawing enough power from the MFE so that it doesn't get the full 128. So connected to the MFE on its own with glass fibre cable as mine is, nothing else running, this should be fine. So into the electrolyzer interface, we're going to need 12 empty cells, which are just made from tin per process, and 12 bauxite dust. Actually, it wasn't 12 cells, I stand corrected, it was only 8. There we go. So let's give that a few minutes. This, as I said, is quite time consuming and may take a while to complete. Okay, there we go. The process took about 60 seconds, and as a result we have 8 aluminium dust, or aluminum dust for my American viewers, 5 hydrogen cells and 3 compressed air cells, none of which we need, so stick them in a chest somewhere, they may come in handy later. What we want is this tiny pile of titanium dust. Now you can see we only got 2 tiny piles of titanium dust. So this is quite an expensive recipe. So let's just take those out of there for now and take out our spare cells and just pop over to the crafting table. Okay, so what we need is 8 tiny piles of titanium dust, and as you get 2 per process from the industrial electrolyzer, you're going to have to run that process 4 times, so it might take a while. So at the crafting table, 4 of these tiny piles in a square, or I think pretty much any configuration, will give you a pile of titanium dust, and we need to make 2 of those, and we're going to take those outside to our industrial blast furnace. And here at the industrial blast furnace we'll pop those titanium dust in, and hopefully within a few seconds we should have our result. And there you have it, we've smelted 1 pile of titanium dust into a titanium ingot, and the other one is on its way. We're going to need 2 of those. So now we know how to make titanium and steel ingots. There are a couple of different ways to make them, but to be honest they're all just as complicated and as difficult as each other. The reason I've chosen to show you this way is because this is using the machines that we've already got that we built in the previous videos. Well, now the difficult bit's out the way, I'm just going to run through the steps of putting it all together. So the first thing you're going to need to make is an RE battery, which is pretty simple. Copper cable, 2 redstone and 4 tin ingots will give you an RE battery. Okay, next we need to make our mining drill, so we put the RE battery at the bottom middle with an electronic circuit above it, and then our 5 steel ingots, 2 either side in the bottommost slots and 1 in the top middle, gives us our mining drill. Okay, so the next thing we need to do is upgrade our mining drill into an industrial mining drill. So the mining drill goes in the middle with an advanced circuit below. The 2 tiny titanium ingots go in the bottom corners, and then the 3 diamonds, 1 in the top middle and 1 either side, gives us a diamond drill. Now that we have our diamond drill, we can finally put the quarry together, and we are going to need 3 iron gears in the top 2 corners and 1 in the middle. 2 golden gears, 1 either side, 2 diamond gears in the bottom 2 corners, and then we are going to need our diamond drill in the bottom slot and our advanced circuit in the top slot, and then finally we have it, our quarry. Now just before we go outside with that, we're also going to need to make ourselves 3 landmarks. Landmarks are very easy to make. All you need is a redstone torch and some lapis lazuli. Place them next to each other in a crafting table in the right order. There we go. Put the lapis lazuli above the redstone torch and you get landmarks. We want 3 of those, and I'll show you why in a second when we go outside to place our quarry. Okay, so we've finally done it. We have our quarry. So I'm just going to pop it down randomly for a moment just because I want to show you guys something. The quarry is actually made up of 2 parts. You have the main quarry block, which is obviously the bit we've just put together here, and you have the frame. Now, this frame isn't actually a solid thing, it's just there to represent where the frame will go when the quarry starts up. Now, the default size for the frame, as you can see, we've just put it down, this is the default size, is 9 blocks by 9 blocks. So that's the size of the frame. The hole the quarry digs will be 1 block smaller on each side. So 9 by 9 frame will give you a 7 by 7 hole. So obviously it's 9 blocks minus 1 on this side is 8, and minus 1 on the other side takes it down to 7. So it will be a 7 by 7 hole. It is possible to adjust the size of this frame. You can make the maximum frame size 64 blocks by 64 blocks, which will obviously give you a 62 by 62 block hole, or you can take the frame down as small as 3 blocks by 3 blocks, which will give you a single block hole that'll dig straight down. The height of the frame is always going to be the same. Now when you set the quarry up, anything that is within this frame will be destroyed. You won't get the materials from it, it will just cease to exist. Now you can place quarries underground, so be very careful if you do, because if you place it underneath a building or somewhere you want to keep, anything in this area is going to get destroyed. But this isn't where I want to put it, so I'm going to pick it up with a pickaxe. Diamond pickaxe should break it in one piece. And what I'm going to want to do is pop it down here next to my electrical engine. Now I'm going to stand and face that way so it pops in the right place. Now as I drop it down, you can see that my frame is partially going through this wall here, and it only goes so far over here. Now this isn't where I want it to dig. I actually want it to dig from sort of this line here. I want to Actually, no, I'm going to take that whole area out, but I want it to go further on. I want it to go right over to the end of this wall, and I don't want it to go quite as far. I don't want it this block, I want it one block over. So we're going to do that with landmarks. First thing I'm going to do is take the quarry back up. Now, landmarks are absolutely brilliant for marking out an area. So we'll pop a landmark down. Now, one on its own doesn't do anything, but there is a handy little trick. If you place a redstone torch or a redstone signal next to a landmark, it will turn on and it will produce these blue lines that travel for 64 blocks in any direction. So this is an absolutely brilliant way if you actually want to mark out an area. It'll count 64 blocks for you, and you can also make sure that things are in a straight line. It projects through walls and through solid objects, so you can follow it wherever it goes. So let's just destroy the redstone torch and the landmark. So I'm going to use these landmarks to set out the area where I want my quarry to be. Okay, so now I've finished being interrupted by sheep, I'm going to lay down the area where I want my quarry to be. I've decided I am going to make it a little bit shorter than I originally was, because I want some room over on this side. So here's the block where my quarry is going to be next to the engine. I'm going to place the first landmark down here, and then I'm going to go and place the second one here in a straight line, because this is the furthest I want it to go, and then I am going to go over to here and place down the third one. So we've got 3 landmarks tracing out 3 corners of a rectangle. Now, once you know where 3 corners of a rectangle are, you can plot where the 4th one is going to be. If we go over to the middle landmark and right click on it, it lays down for us a nice handy little red rectangle, and that's where our frame's going to be. So I'm going to take the quarry and pop it down here. And as you can see, as soon as the quarry goes down, which has to go down next to one of the landmarks, not just at the side of the frame, but as soon as the quarry goes down, it now sets a frame that is the size that the landmarks were. So we'll pick the landmarks up, we can reuse them another day. Now, before I turn the quarry on, what I need to do is make an output. Otherwise, all the stuff that comes out of it is just going to spit all over the floor, and we don't want that. So I'm going to get some stone transport pipes. Now, everything comes out of the top of the quarry, so just hold down shift so you can actually click on the top of the quarry. Now, one good thing with the quarry is it automatically pumps out its contents. You don't need to have any kind of sort of wooden transport pipe to pump out from the quarry, which is absolutely fantastic. Let's just get that in the right place. And what I'm going to do, I've already put some chests here. I'm going to make this stone transport pipe run all the way along, and I'm going to connect it to all the chests, because quarries do empty quite quickly. Eventually I'm going to have this going into a sorting facility. Is that the last chest? Yes, it is. I'll have this going into a sorting facility, and I can have different types of material go into different chests and go to different places. So there we go, they're all connected up. All that's left to do now is hop over here and turn on the engine. Now, what you'll see start to happen is this little robot will appear, and he will fly around and create this frame for us. So it does take it a little while to put the frame together, but there we go, it's nearly complete, and as soon as the final piece of the frame is down, the construction arm appears, and if we just very carefully hop over here, you can see that we are already starting to quarry out the area. It's taking off the first level, the first layer, and if we go over here and have a look at the quarry itself, you can see we are starting to get dirt blocks and stone blocks coming up from the top of the quarry, and that will happily go as long as it's got power. It'll work day and night, and it will keep going until it hits the bedrock. So there you are, ladies and gentlemen. It's a bit of a complicated process, and it's quite an expensive one, but it does pay dividends in the end because you can leave these things running. They do also keep the chunk loaded, so even if I'm not out here where the quarry is, as long as I'm online and the server is active, this is going to mine away and pick up absolutely everything that gets in its path. There we have it, the quarry. So guys, thanks again for watching and bearing with me through this sort of feature-length episode. Although this is a complicated project, but I'm glad that we've got it out of the way. It is one of the more ambitious builds thanks to Gregtech. I hope as always that you found this video informative and entertaining, and if you have, please like, share and subscribe because it really helps me and the channel out. As usual, if you've got any ideas for future videos, if there's a particular machine, item or mod that you'd like to see me build and demonstrate, either send me a message or leave it in the comments below. So until then, I have been UnstableVoltage, this has been How to Feed the Beast in Minecraft, and I will see you next time. So goodbye for now.